lucky enough to be sitting here with Stella from Bodysnatchers, another extremely influential band from the era of two-tone. Stella, welcome.
Hello.
It's really lovely to be able to speak to you. Can you just fill us in and let us know how you got to be involved with the movement and how you came to be involved with music?
Okay, well I could play guitar. I taught myself to play guitar probably when I was about 14, acoustic guitar, and then I didn't really do anything with it apart from just play in a few what we call bedroom bands, because we didn't ever do any gigs, we just played. And I then later on got a job as a secretary at EMI Records, and which was great, but I realised that the artists were having a much better time than me. And I actually left with no plan, and I saw an ad in the Melody Maker, and it was a girl who placed an ad wanting female musicians to join to form a band, a ska and blue beat band. So I answered that ad, and I got the gig, and we basically got together through this ad, and then we became a 7-piece. But we couldn't really play very well, and we learnt to play by playing the old 45 ska, all the ska tunes on this 45 dance set record player, and we just copy it and learn how to play
as you went along.
Yes.
So I'm kind of guessing that at the time actually it was quite unusual to have not only females in a band as such, but an all-female band.
Yes, it was unusual. There were a few bands around, and a few that formed around the same time as us. There was a Modettes in the UK, and then the Go-Go's in America. And they came over actually, and we did a tour with them and specials. And so yes, it was quite unusual. But it was the point about when all that happened was that it was very much a time when post-punk. So people could post-punk, it was like anyone could have a go at anything if they wanted to get up on stage. You didn't have to be a virtuoso musician, and I think that's certainly what encouraged me, and also the fact that it was a girl that was advertising, because I think I would never have had the guts to go to to an audition in a male band with a male band. So that as well, those two factors, anyone can kind of get up and have a go. I think it did encourage a lot of people. And it was a very sort of amazing time, really, from that point of view.
Absolutely.
You really felt you were sort of cutting edge.
Yeah. Well, you were the forerunners, really, of that sort of movement, because it wasn't, in terms of longevity, the music's remained, but the movement itself
was very short-lived, wasn't it? Yes, that's right. Yeah. We formed in 1979, and by that time, two-tone was sort of well established and was really on a roll, so we were very lucky to be there and being asked to do a single on two-tone, because that really sort of got us going. Yeah.
So in terms of your kind of musical identity, how do you think that coloured the way you developed as a musician?
Well, I certainly got a lot of influence from the ska we were listening to, but we also and we listened to lots of reggae and dub. And then we started listening to a lot more sort of just black music, blues, R&B, funk. Funk was a huge influence on our music. Not so much the Bodysnatchers, but the Bell Stars.
Yeah.
But that was very much that opened up all sorts of music listening to me.
So really, and I was talking to Gaps about this earlier on. The whole idea that this kind of sound that is timeless actually, and you couldn't really put an era to it, has the potential to be encouraging young people now and a different generation who get into this music of their own merit to be kind of looking back and being retrospective and wondering what may have influenced you guys at the time that you were making all this music yourself.
Well, I think interestingly enough, we were saying that the people that have come to this event today, who are our age, and their children who are now sort of in their late teens, early 20s, they're digging the music as well. And I can't remember when the last time when that happened, when it's sort of two generations were both into the same kind of music, you tend to sort of not like what your parents like.
Absolutely,
you know,
that's the thing you want to do least, is
not
listen
with,
to the...
It seems with the ska thing, it's...
No, that's an interesting phenomenon, and I
Mm.
hadn't really thought about that because I've got an 18-year-old son.
Right.
And he's really, really into that sort of smooth look. He likes the cherry red loafers and the Farrahs and the little polo t-shirts. He's really sort of, loving that look.
Okay, so...
and listening to a lot of reggae, in fact. I mean, I like a lot of... my music taste is quite eclectic anyway, but I would never have imagined that just because I liked a lot of different music that my kids would want to listen to the same music I do.
That's right.
But I hadn't thought about that actually. He's really embraced that in a way that maybe I didn't at that age, because I was a little bit too young to kind of really understand the movement at the time, although I listened to the music and I grew up with the music and it was always there. I think that the teenagers now are getting it as well. So yeah, we are listening to the same sort of thing and enjoying it for its own merit.
And likewise, there's a lot of stuff, new stuff now that I like, that my daughter likes. It's not necessarily something I would download, but when I like it as well. So it works the other way, that our age group, my age group, are liking some of the music that my daughter's into. She's educating me as well. Yeah,
and that's something else that's really interesting, is that generationally speaking, we're more inclined to share things with one another in a way that I think then you wouldn't have done with your parents.
That's right, yeah, not just musical tastes, but
generally
thoughts and discussions and everything,
I think the messages are very pertinent now, as much as the music is timeless in itself of its own merit.
The communication between the two generations is much better now.
I
mean, when I think of the conversations I have with my daughter, I would never dream of having with my mother.
No, absolutely not.
So, and that can only be a good thing.
Stella, thank you so much for talking to me today.